Week 8 recap. Your thoughts on what happened over the weekend. Texas, Oklahoma, Oregon, Washington, all nearly fall. Is there an elite program, not just in the SEC, but in the nation this year?
Well, I can't say there is. And this is where me and Dave would totally disagree. Because there's not an elite program, this is where I want the old BCS. I think this is where it's at its best. When you have a bunch of teams on even playing field and you don't know who's going to be in the top two, everybody's like, this would be their best year for the 12-team playoff. No, it wouldn't. This would be the best year for the 2-team playoff, because you know how much chaos would be in the regular season with the 2-team playoff right now. I like the chaos, Dave. I'm sorry. I'm like the Joker. I'm an agent of chaos. And
you want to see the world burn. I told you 4 weeks ago, Michigan's the best team in the nation. And you got number 2, Michigan, the only contender not to struggle. Michigan's the best team in the nation right now.
I think they might be. I also still would barely have them in my top 10 because they haven't beaten a team with the pulse yet. And also they beat a team on Saturday that thought a Hitler trivia question would be a good idea at a game. Who saw that?
How stupid was that? A big picture of Hitler on the Jumbotron.
I mean, to me, the trivia itself is not bad. It's like, it is a trick question, like, where was Hitler born? Because everybody would say Germany. You know, he was actually born in Austria, but he was a German nationalist, so he believed that Austria was part of Germany. The same with Stalin. He wasn't born in Russia. He was born in Georgia, not the state, the country, for all of you SEC guys out there. He was born in the country, but Stalin thought that Georgia should be a part of Russia. So nice trivia, but yeah, maybe don't have a full-on picture of Hitler taking up the whole scoreboard when you're doing that.
Yep. And then can you pull that up, by the way? Are you able to pull that up while we can continue the conversation? Because it is absolutely the most absurd picture. It's almost like it was photoshopped or doctored. Number 3, you got North Carolina suffers college football upset of the year. The Tar Heels have been good for one bad upset a year. Isn't that just depth, though, at the end of the day? I mean, they lose to Virginia 31-27, and that's a surprise. Virginia is not very good, but that to me speaks to depth, and it's tough to get real depth at a program like North Carolina, like they would have at Alabama or Georgia. So somebody gets tweaked, somebody has a bad game, who steps in for him? USC is done. Lincoln Riley in trouble. Lincoln Riley's Trojans lost their 2nd straight game and their 3rd to the Utah Utes since he and Caleb Williams headed out west. Now with 2 losses, they are all but done in the college football playoff race. And I'll tell you something else that a scout told me, and you may have heard this reported elsewhere. I forgot to get to it last year. Lincoln Riley has reached out to NFL teams. He has said he just wants to coach till he's 50, and I believe he's in his early to mid 40s. So you might want to take that shot at the NFL, and he might be able to package himself with Caleb Williams, which you couldn't do before because you don't know when he's going to get drafted. But Caleb Williams is, I'm sure, making great NIL money in LA. So he could say, I'm going to pass on the draft. I'm going to come back, or I'm going to sit out a year and get drafted by somebody that will hire Lincoln Riley. That sounds insane how they could manipulate the system, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if that happened.
I wouldn't, but Dave, I think like Caleb Williams 2 weeks ago was all like, 2 weeks ago, he's like, I may not go into the draft if the team I don't like is not picking number 1. Then after he loses to Notre Dame, by the way, not before, after he comes out and says, I'm not going to be drafted by a team unless I can get ownership stake in them. And I'm like, what leverage do you think you have, bro? And then he comes out and loses to Utah. So Caleb Williams may not have this type of leverage that he thought he had coming out. This isn't a John Elway prospect or an Andrew Luck prospect coming out that is like the best prospect in a generation. This is a guy who won the Heisman last year in a system that has produced 3 Heisman winners.
He's as good as Eli Manning coming out. Eli Manning manipulated the system.
He's not as good as Eli Manning coming out.
You don't think so?
He's not.
That's surprising me. Okay.
Eli Manning single-handedly had Ole Miss a play away from winning the West in 2003 when they had no talent around them whatsoever.
Okay. I think he's every bit the NFL prospect that Eli Manning is.
And I said this for a while. He holds the ball too long trying to make a play, and Lincoln Riley runs the wide splits offense that Josh Heupel runs. It's not going to translate to the NFL.
David says Heupel and Milton are going to do the same thing. Yeah, I think I don't want to be too mean, but I think an NFL team would be like, we'll hire you if you promise you won't bring Joe Milton. Is that too mean? Did I get
Well, I
catty?
mean, as Josh Ward pointed out, Jared Garantano has NFL money in his pocket, so
And this. You have, if you're watching on YouTube, we highly suggest that you subscribe there, where you can see at LSU, they show a big picture.
Michigan State, not LSU. Let's be fair to LSU.
Michigan State, sorry. Where you show a big picture of Hitler in front of your entire crowd because of a trivia question. Why would you even have, and this was a third-party company, and this was a third-party company who they outsourced to do this. But why would Hitler even be the answer to any trivia question? Why would you even go there? Why wouldn't you err on the side of being extra safe?
Well, because you're trying to play a trick question. It's a very fun, and I knew it because I've played trivia nights, so I've been asked questions of like, where was Hitler born, where was Stalin born, where was Andrew Jackson born, because everybody thinks Tennessee, but he was actually born in North Carolina. It's a fun trivia question when it's a trick question where you think somebody was born into some place because they represent a place, but they were born somewhere else, and everybody would think Germany. So I get the idea of a trivia question, but don't have a freaking like mural of Hitler take up your whole scoreboard. I mean, that looks like he's about to address the crowd at Michigan State. It looks like he's still alive.
Yeah. It looks like, hi. And you're like, what in the world is Hitler doing up there? Oh man, Travis is telling me he's going to unsubscribe after that last Milton comment. I'm in it in jest. I love you, Travis. You're Travis is part of the original posse, so you can't go anywhere.
Also, Dave, it's funny we bring up Hitler references when you got to cover Derek Dooley when remember
it's funny we're bringing up Hitler references.
Yeah. Remember Derek Dooley? We're like the Germans at D-Day.
Yeah, I'm the one that asked that question that got him going with the big binoculars.
With the binoculars. Wait, so you're saying that the Tennessee is like the bad guys who lost World War II? That's who Tennessee is? That's the analogy you want to use? Like,
I still remember the locker room saying opportunities now and here, but it read like opportunity is nowhere. More recaps. Alabama, FSU deserve break for struggle narrative. Why?
Yes, they're two of the teams that struggled, but they shouldn't be ashamed of struggling. Alabama played a ranked team at home in Tennessee. And they covered the spread. So what that they struggled within the first half. And Florida State played Duke and 130-20, trailed 10-7 in the first quarter. Look, Duke, with everything them talent-wise, Duke has, I'm going to say it, I'm saying it right now, Duke has the best coach in college football. I'd hire Mike Elko over any coach right now. I would open my checkbook for him. He is, I've said this for a long time. Coaches should be people who are ball guys, who know ball, but then have like Ivy League intelligence. That's literally Mike Elko. He's a ball guy who graduated from an Ivy League school. That's going to be the trend in football in the future, Dave. Book it. People are going to figure that out.
Are you telling me that Eli Drinkwitz couldn't have graduated from an Ivy League school? Because I am. Ohio State keeps winning ugly. I think Ohio State's like a better version of Tennessee right now. They have more talent, but their quarterback play's been Clemson's elite college football run ends. I thought this before the season started. You've got number 9 Arkansas pulls the first firing trigger of an assistant. Well, we all like Sam Pittman, especially some people, because he'll talk to anybody. We could have Sam Pittman probably on the program tomorrow. But it's not an exciting way to win, and it's a hard place to win. And running the football is boring nowadays. So you sell less tickets, and that shouldn't matter. But I sometimes think that an AD, Caleb, tell me if I'm crazy, would rather have a Josh Heupel type offense that would win 10 games as opposed to a Sam Pittman offense that would win 11. I think there's something to be said for it's a show. I mean, ultimately, college football is a show. Do you think that's a crazy statement?
I think you'd have more of a point if it was like win 7 games versus win 8. But once you hit the 11, you just care about winning at that point. And so
that's fair.
But you're right. Because Texas Tech, would hold out with the air raid for whoever they hired for years because Mike Leach, Cliff Kingsbury, whoever. I mean, if you're winning 6 or 7 games, so what? It's a fun game. It's a fun game to watch. And so I get your point with that. You're right. Dan Enos, I said it was a bad hire at the time. One of many bad offensive coordinator hires in the SEC, including Dowell Loggins, the great genius Mike Bobo, who also could have graduated from an Ivy League school. I'm kidding. But yeah, I think Dan Enos was the worst of the hires. And so I think that Arkansas, look, they got to do what Nebraska has to do. If you're one of those schools like Arkansas and Nebraska, where it's just really hard to recruit, you just got to find somebody that has an offense that no one has, that has never been touched or tried before, that no one knows how to defend.
Yep. And back to the Heisman race wrapping up the weekend. You've got Michael, don't look at my Penix, number 1, Jaden Daniels, number 2, Dylan Gabriel, number 3, number 4 is Bo Nix, Jordan Travis is number 5, which I know that pains you to say. And in the top 10, Ohio State, Florida State, Oklahoma, Washington, Oregon, Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss, Georgia. It's nice that Michigan could show up at 10, Caleb, since they're the best team in the nation. But anyway.
Well, I also have Georgia at number 9. Notice I have Ole Miss and Alabama ranked ahead of Georgia and Michigan. And that's for a reason. Schedule strength matters. By the way, Dave, I almost put LSU ahead of Georgia and Michigan. And I'm not even kidding, because Georgia and Michigan, Boise State played harder schedules when they were going undefeated in the 2010s than those two schools I play right now. I mean, honestly, Tulane played a harder schedule in 98 when they went undefeated than Georgia and Michigan have played right now.
Mr. Jones says your Penix is out, which would be a funny press conference if you said, like the head coach said, I just want to tell you guys, I love my Penix. I think that my Penix is incredible. But unfortunately, he's a little banged up, so my Penix is out this week.
Also, when you say Mike Penix, if that's for short, it almost sounds like that.
Well, yeah.
By the way, but the problem with Mike Penix Michael Penix when we talk about the NFL, he's an NFL talent, but he's only 6'3". If Penix only had a couple.
Oh no!